Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I am Narita Bashaliva, along with co-host Dr. Victor Fett, Dr. Katerina Shrey, and our program producer, Professor Larry Shrey. We host a weekly discussion panel on Russia's war on Ukraine with guests from Ukraine, military experts, medical personnel, academics, artists, literary figures, and relief workers. Our panel is recorded and circulated nationally and internationally. We appreciate your comments and feedback. Special thanks to Marshall University Libraries and MUIT for making this weekly event possible. If you are joining us live on Teams, please feel free.
If you're joining us live on Teams, please feel free to ask your questions. This is my honor and duty on the Independence Day, on American national holiday, to welcome one of the people who care about Ukraine, one of the organizations. This is with us today, Yurij Wowczuk from Vovk Foundation, Morgantown, West Virginia, our neighbor, because we are in West Virginia as well, as our viewers know. Yuri, microphone is yours. We're on record. Please, I show your slides now.
Excellent. Okay, great. Well, good afternoon and good evening, everybody, and happy 4th of July. It's a great honor to be here, Victor. Thank you, and Anata, for the invitation to speak on this very important series. I also want to thank the Marshall University community for upholding this very important program series. I've been personally aware of it for about 6 months, and I think this is probably the best representation of the variety of topics and subjects that need to be discussed and exposed at this time, and really throughout this unjust and unprovoked war. So thank you for the opportunity. Today, I would like to speak on two topics, two interrelated topics. First off, I want to provide an overview of the Vovk Foundation. As Victor mentioned, we are headquartered based in Morgantown, West Virginia. We work on a global level, and so wanted to talk about the types of projects that we've undertaken, our verticals, and the position that we think we can help play in terms of advocating for a free and independent and prosperous Ukraine once this unprovoked war is over. And then as part of that, I would like to speak about our biggest undertaking, our biggest project, our biggest investment, which is the researching and publication of a book on my grandfather, Ivan Vovchuk. So if I can begin with sort of an overview of the foundation, and talk a little bit about why we created this. And when I say we, I'm very happy to present that the foundation is a collaboration amongst myself and my two brothers, Boris and Zinovi. This is an effort that we've been talking about for several years, really since the beginning of this war in 2014, and with the unfortunate and untimely passing of our father, we decided in 2023 to put the foundation together formally, obtain our 501c3 status, and undertake the work that we think is most impactful from our perspective in terms of supporting Ukraine and advocating for Ukraine's future. So next page, please. Yeah, and our mission is very simple. It is to draw on the legacy of our family, which no different than many other families of Ukrainian origin, and take what was important to us and to them, and create meaningful verticals around kind of the things that were priorities to us growing up and priorities to our family. So next page. Sorry, if you want to advance to the next page. And specifically, the familial inspiration is our father and our grandfather. I'll talk more about our grandfather in the second half of this discussion, but kind of their legacies, and our memories of them really is the inspiration behind the work. Next page, please. So, what does our foundation do and how are we different? So I want to talk a little bit about the structure of it. And it is, first off, we do not have staff or really a physical footprint. We are very project driven. We keep our overhead extremely minimal, and I think that's an important differentiator. And we emphasize project work, and the types of projects that we undertake have to always fit and always do fit in one of these 5 verticals. So from supporting students in Ukraine and Ukrainian students globally in their education journey, to supporting entrepreneurs, startups, existing firms in the areas of innovation and entrepreneurship in general, with specific focus in a couple of sectors, being defense, industrial, agricultural, and commercial are kind of the 4 industry sectors where we have personal expertise, or our networks do, and we feel we can make a difference by contributing our knowledge and know-how, our contacts, our abilities to help advance companies, technology, and certainly, and perhaps most importantly, entrepreneurship in those market verticals. We think about and anticipate the rebuild. When the rebuild comes, preparing for what will be necessary in order to do and create a responsible and impactful rebuild plan and execution of that plan. And then the 5th vertical, I call it truth or truth seeking, and it really is tying these other 4 verticals into one, and our focus really being on advocacy. And our particular take on advocacy on a global level is twofold. One is helping to dispel the layers and the decades of misinformation, of propaganda, of personal attack that the Russians and the Soviets have undertaken, for hundreds of years, really. And then secondly, a subset of that is to set the record straight in terms of the Ukrainian nationalist movement, the liberation movement of the 20th century, and as opposed to hiding behind it or circumventing it, try to expose the truth about what the nationalists and leaders of that movement really did to create a Ukrainian state and what they did in support of society. So next page, please. The needs are many, and the way to characterize the needs is also, can go many different directions. So why did we do this, and what do we do? So we are very narrowly focused, as I mentioned, on those 5 verticals. We are not a humanitarian foundation per se. We don't have those logistical and supply chain connections, but what we do is focus on the need for advocacy, because that need is tremendous. And in particular, I think about the need to advocate across these 3 elements, right? So we have to provide for our youth, and we have to provide for the future businesses and businesses of today and tomorrow, and the business leaders of today and tomorrow. We're going to have to support the incredible destruction that's taken place to our infrastructure, our schools, our factories, our research centers, our universities. And when that happens, and when the time comes for a rebuild and for dealing with the incredible problems and challenges of post-war Ukraine, making sure that we don't forget that this advocacy needs to continue, and perhaps needs to continue at even a greater velocity. A, to make sure that this doesn't happen again, and B, to support and help sustain a free and sovereign and thriving Ukraine. Next page, please. We, since our inception in 2023, we've undertaken about 50 projects that fall into those verticals, and I highlight just a few here, just to better explain what it is we do and where our priorities are at. So yes, we have supported the military. We have supported hospitals with direct investment. We've created a scholarship program. And we have done a very significant amount of coaching and mentoring of students, of entrepreneurs, of graduate students, of existing business owners, and the like. So this is just a kind of a more of a listing to explain our perspective, where we think the foundation can make a difference. Next page, please. I'm going to talk a little bit about our partners, and I think mentioning our partners also gives a little better perspective on the foundation and how we go about our work. So you can see here a very cross-sectional group of partners that we've had the good fortune of working with since really our inception. So we have long-standing American foundations that do provide humanitarian help in the form of Brother's Brother. We have relationships with very effective legacy diaspora organizations, such as the Ukrainian National Women's League. Vovchuk Ukraine is the famous American actress Liev Schreiber's investment fund for projects in Ukraine, which we've had the honor of working with and benefiting from. And we do support from a political and a policy perspective the work that's undertaken by the Center for U.S.-Ukraine Relations, which puts on a series of very substantial workshops around particular topics that affect U.S. policy towards Ukraine. So hopefully this gives some good insight, and I'll wait till later for questions. But between these projects and our partners, I thought this was just an effective way of communicating what we are and how we are different. We have put in, I will say, a considerable amount, way north of 6 figures of our own money, myself and my brothers. We had the good fortune of some support from foundations and institutionals. We certainly are happy to have individual donations and appreciate anybody who supports our fundraising events. But really more importantly than that, as I mentioned earlier, we are project-driven organizations. So the flow of project ideas and concepts, the flow of connections, to me is really important. Without that, I don't think we can continue kind of working in the way that we have been. And it's very important for us to continue to focus on our verticals and to affect the organizations and partners that we work with. I am going to highlight some projects of note here in the next couple of pages, and spend a little bit of time on them because they're particularly relevant given where we are and into year 11 of this war. I think have some particular impact. So the first of which, thanks to Vovchuk Ukraine, we were fortunate enough to obtain a grant to design and fabricate communal kitchens. These are kitchens that have been installed in villages very close to the front line, villages that have been particularly affected by the war. So these are community assets. The first phase of this project allowed us to fabricate and install 5 kitchens. We feed on average 3,000 people a week in these various villages, and intend on raising additional funds, providing additional funds to install more of these, and as many as we can in the most war-torn and affected areas in Ukraine. The photo at the bottom I included. It's not a kitchen, but in one of the towns where we installed a kitchen, it's close to Nikopol. We were asked to support the rebuild of a primary school that was destroyed, and so we, in addition to the kitchen, outfitted and had and supported the creation and the installation of a bomb shelter that was put in place of where this primary school was located. So a project to me of high impact, of high humanitarian support, but also one that can be sustained, and the sustainment aspect of our work is very important to us. Next page, please. Yeah, I'm going to show a video if I can, Victor. Okay.
Give me 1 second. I will go this. I will need to stop sharing and go to this frame and show the video.
Yeah, this is actually
1 second. Okay, give me a moment, please.
Yep.
Copy.
So this is the shorter video. Maybe I can share my screen.
Try if it works better, but I can do the same. If you share your screen, please try to do this. Okay. I got it. 1 second. No, I think I got it. 1 moment. Share, sound, screen. One second, please. I'm trying to sort these things, but it should be around. Sorry. Get in there.
Okay. Was that visible?
I'm sorry. I have. I need a moment on YouTube.
Actually, the YouTube video is for the later part of the conversation.
Yeah.
So why don't we go back to the presentation?
Sure. 1 second. Here we are.
Yep. Good. Yeah. Great. And maybe one slide before this. Yeah. So unfortunately, we couldn't play this, but one recent project, and I wanted to mention this because the reasoning for it is important. As we know, particularly in the U.S. and many places of the world, there was a lot of fatigue, is a lot of fatigue around the war. And so it's something that needs to be addressed from an advocacy perspective. And we've had several elected officials come to us and ask, can you put together a video that would show the relationship between Ukraine and the region of Appalachia? And so we did this, and it's very interesting. And I think it's very moving to show the relationships, the similarities that exist industrially, demographically, from a population perspective, culturally even. And it's a very highly impactful film. We won't have time today to view it, but it has been produced. I have not released it because I would like to have it. I'd like to show it with a narrative and an introduction. And so if there is any interest in providing this or showing it at venues throughout Appalachia, I'm very happy to do that. We would cover the expense to make it happen.
Yuri, if you want to access it and show us a clip, you could do it on your side. I cannot access it right now, but
let me do that.
Please, we have time.
Okay.
And
great.
I will stop my sharing and you share your screen with sound.
Can everybody see this?
We can see the frame.
Okay, great. Let me play it.
From Vimeo.
Can you see this?
We can see it, and you will need to share sound also. There is a button under share screen.
Yep.
To share sound.
Let me see if I can find that.
Under Teams share screen. On your Teams ribbon, you have share arrow, and it will give you a button to share sound. But right now we do not see anything.
How about now?
We do see the frame, yes.
There are reports of an apparent Russian attack in Ukraine's northeast.
The deliberate bombing of hospitals and killing civilians are the actions of war criminals.
The Russians are torturing and murdering Christians in Ukraine for their faith.
My kids saw everything, the dead people, civilian people.
In the face of all of this evil, we see hope.
What you see is the whole nation unwilling to bend. There's such a similarity to the spirit that you see in West Virginian working people who struggle for justice, for fairness.
And we see the same things going on with the people in Ukraine. They're at that level of resiliency to the challenges that they currently face.
I think as Americans, it's one of the most inspiring things I've ever seen.
Today, I stand wholeheartedly for Ukraine.
We're not just supporting them, we're supporting democracy in Europe and around the world.
Because what we want is freedom to make choices.
Freedom for us is the value which is more important than our lives.
Okay. Great.
Thank you. I will share my screen again for the next frame.
Yeah, great. Why don't we then go back to the presentation? Yeah.
Here we are.
Yep. So that was an example of some, where advocacy and trying to counter the Ukraine fatigue, as we call it, needs to be addressed, and I think needs to be addressed at a very grassroots and practical level. This last project that I wanted to highlight is one that I'm working on currently, and it is to put together a hybrid / remote / virtual STEM program and a set of educational standards to teach STEM to primary and secondary to students in primary and secondary schools. There's a challenge with a number of challenges, of course, during wartime in delivering education effectively. But we have licensed a STEM framework, which is called Illum. And you can see, I won't read off what it is, but it has 6 elements to it. And we have been working with the Western Ukraine National University in Tribune to adapt it for primary and secondary schools, as I mentioned, but also delivering it to various parts of the country, including those that are closest to the front. So the students don't have the advantage of a STEM laboratory that they can go to every day. But we have been experimenting and implementing, as I mentioned, hybrid and virtual solutions to delivering this curriculum. So this program is in its first year. As I mentioned, it's intended for primary and secondary schools with the particular focus on not just traditional paths to college and universities after graduation, but to trade schools, to technical schools, to entrepreneurship, and even, quite frankly, to support the rapidly expanding need to innovate and create and test and experiment and ideate quickly in support of the war effort. So this is a very exciting and very important project to me personally. We've had about 900 students go through this in the first year, and are looking to triple that number in year 2. So this is, I thought, the most effective way of communicating what the foundation does, what it's set up to do, what we're trying to accomplish, and how we're trying to drive impact. So I'll pause there, and before we talk about the book, see if there's any questions.
Yes, please. I open the panel. We have few live viewers. Please ask. This is amazing what we hear and what Vovk Foundation is doing. You surely have some questions. Open your microphone and take the opportunity, please. Nobody seems to venture. Sergey, please.
Thank you, Yuri, for your presentation. It was very important, the thing that you have done. And it is very interesting that it is connected with your ancestors. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sergey Kamyshan joins us almost every week from Kiev. And it's great to see you. We all know that there was another horrible attack this last night.
It was horrible.
It's just terrible.
We should not forget every day about what is going on in Ukraine. And may I ask my question while we're waiting on someone else? In your experience, how many foundations like yours exist in the United States? Do you have a way to know?
I don't have an exact number, Victor. There are quite a few. I will say this: there are, there are probably three groups of such organizations. There are the very, very prominent ones like Razum, United 24, etc. There are a band of organizations, foundations, and institutional organizations like ours that I think are very purposeful and very specific in what they're trying to accomplish. And there is a very large amount of private money and family foundations, some of which have existed, for several generations, some of which are new. So I don't have a number, but I think that there's a significant amount of them, and I think that thinking about them falling into those three categories probably is the way I would consider it.
Would be interesting because we have interviewed people from Razum, from several other places, from some Canadian sources, but I don't think we ever had a comprehensive profile of dynamics which is going on. And first of all, what comes to mind, how do you guys coordinate? Is there any coordination between those many?
Yeah, that's a great point. My answer to that is not enough. There unfortunately isn't, to my knowledge, a central depository or a database. There are, attempts to do that, but I do not know of one comprehensive one. And that's why, to me, as I mentioned earlier, the cultivation of projects and expanding, our network and contacts that way, to me, seems very effective because I can start to better understand who is doing what and whose interests lie where. But yes, I think that it's a call to action to try to catalog all these organizations. A lot of people doing a lot of great work, and it's the opportunity is for us to be leveraged, not fragmented.
Yes, surely. And we were our program featured a number of cultural and medical and help services and just family level enterprises which collect money and send medical supplies or funds, and we catalog this. Basically, we are providing eclectic oral archive for those who exist at this moment. It's very we're very honored to have you here, and please, if there are any more questions, ask them. If not, we will hear Yuri talking about his ancestors and family, and that's so. History is always very important in our
situation. I have a question.
Yes, Kanara, please.
I understand actually very well what you are doing because I have similar situation. I'm from Kyrgyzstan, Bishkek, and one street is named after my father. Another name is named after my grandfather. They both worked with government. They were actual scholars. They were cultural figures, but they nevertheless both suffered from the regime. So that's actually a very similar story, probably. And my question, and of course for young people, it's very important to know more about situation because they should understand that there was totally different environment, totally different patriotism and dedication. So do you have any information and stories how they figures like your father, and probably he had actually similar figures around him, how they worked together against this brutal regimes, brutal situation. And that's very important to see that there were many of them, but they were very actually strong at the same time, very vulnerable. And because young people, my nephew is asking, okay, what you told me, he interviewed me, and they said, tell me about situations. He's American now. I don't understand why it was so important. So that's a similar question to you. Just how to explain young people that their heroism, their actual situation. Thank you.
Yep. Fantastic and important question. And I'm going to cover some of this at the end of the book talk, but why don't we talk about it now briefly, and then we can explore it further. First of all, very important, and I think there's two things in my mind. One is the cultivation of these stories. I mean, people hear about about their ancestors being activists or being involved, but that's all they know. They don't know the details or the history, and that's a shame. And that's nobody's fault, but one of the messages from this book is really that call to action. So when you hear about that, or you've heard about that, as an example, your grandparents, then I think everything should be done possible to research and find out about the truth in the history and document it. Because you're right. I mean, in this case, my grandfather was one, but yes, he worked with, several people. And, in the case, even in your particular example, knowing about ABN, right, the Anti-Bolshevik Bloc of Nations, and, the work that an organization like that did starting in the 40s to expose the genocide that took place by the Russians and the Soviets against independent cultures and independent peoples, of which there are 73 or more than 73 right now in the Russian Federation that are all been oppressed. That needs to be told. Those stories need to be told for sure. And so that is a key message that we tried to get across in this book. And certainly, one of the impetuses for writing this book to begin with. As I mentioned, yeah, it's great that we captured it. He's a very important person, but there are many others. And that is an important call to action. And I hope that the generation of our children, will take it upon themselves to research this. So, yeah, great point.
Yeah, thank you. And especially I realize for younger people, especially in America, it's difficult to imagine why it was difficult for them.
That's right.
To be actually to be patriots, to be so to be activists, and that's right. That's actually I was puzzled. I realized that I did not know the answer.
Yes. No, great question. That's a great lead into this. So, just a couple of things. Yeah, we can do that.
To show the clip? No,
we can do that. Sure.
Yep.
This is available on YouTube. This is an introduction to the book that I recorded last summer, and I think is a good intro to what I think are the sort of the key takeaways from the book itself. So, thank you, Victor.
1 second. There. Almost there. Share.
My grandfather was called Guido Lanitz when we were growing up. That is a more archaic, older Ukrainian term. The term Lanitz really means chain or connector. I think of that, and that analogy of a connection plays very well with his approach to leadership of the Ukrainian nationalists and really the advocacy that he was responsible for in the Ukrainian diaspora. I'm Yurij Wowczuk. I'm the director of the Vovk Foundation, and I'm the grandson of Ivan Vovchuk. Ivan Vovchuk was born in 1902 in a village in the eastern part of Ukraine named Chertovate. He attended the University of Kharkiv, graduating with a degree in agronomy. Soon after, he was a researcher and then accepted a position as the head of a primary school in the town of Nikopol. While in Nikopol, he joined the Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists and quickly rose to the ranks from a regional position to one that had a significant global implication. Ukrainian nationalism can best be characterized by the following, in my opinion. It is very inclusive of beliefs and nationalities, not just Ukrainian. Secondly is it incorporates cultural and historical and artistic precepts and elements of the Ukrainian identity. Thirdly, it is a humanistic ideal where people are encouraged to participate, to thrive, to succeed, regardless of race or sex or identity. And these are really important pillars to understand the true nature of Ukrainian nationalism and why it's so important to the Ukrainian identity in general. My grandfather saved a Jewish family, the Bakst family. My grandfather used this position as the head of a school, as well as the head agronomist for that particular region, to not only save this family, but also ensure that they were able to move around the country at a time of great risk, at a time of, complete Nazi permeation of that region. From the work that my grandfather did to produce paperwork that allowed Sarah Bakst to move to a less oppressive village, to hiding her children, then to ultimately ensuring that her and her family were safe. It's an example of courage and bravery during unfathomable times created by the German Nazis. While it's an incredible story, it's only one of thousands of examples of Ukrainian nationalists saving Jews, which completely refutes the false and baseless propaganda that Putin puts forth about Ukrainians being Nazis. The position that Putin has taken, i.e. calling Ukrainians Nazis, is really an evolution of the propaganda that was put forth regarding Lenin and Stalin and trying to position them, oddly enough, as humanitarian. It's important to point out that Ukrainian nationalists work hand in hand with individuals of other beliefs and of other nations. The anti-Bolshevik bloc of nations, for example, was formed in 1943. That led to the creation of the Organization for the Defense of Four Freedoms of Ukraine. It also led to the passage of a very important captive nations piece of legislation under the Eisenhower administration. That created an impetus for many decades, up to and including the Reagan administration, where President Reagan himself said, "Your struggle is our struggle." We are very honored to be working with Boris Loshkin, who is the president of the Jewish Confederation of Ukraine and the vice president of the World Jewish Congress. Boris is an incredible Ukrainian advocate. My grandfather's legacy could be captured in three challenges. The first being the bitter struggles and debates that are taking place at a country level for continued aid and support. The second being the growing fatigue on the part of the media in continuing to report accurately the developments related to the war and also the social developments that are taking place in the country. And then thirdly is kind of the social fatigue that's taking place amongst populations in general as this decade-long war continues. The audience for this book is not only historians and scholars, it's really intended for elected officials, policymakers, consultants, corporate executives who need to understand the history and the context of Ukraine and the Ukrainian experience to position their businesses for success. This book is much more than a book about my grandfather. It's even much more, this book is about the need and the importance of advocacy, of understanding, of staying on top and ahead of the waves of propaganda that's being put forth by Russia. I have to give a lot of credit to the author Oleg Protsenko for weaving together an incredible narrative. This book is a biography, it's a history, it's a historiography, and it's a story about a very important person and a very important player in 20th century Ukrainian identity. Needless to say, my grandfather had kind of an enormous intellect, but he had a civic capability that I think was very important and is highlighted in this book. He wrote numerous articles, he edited very key journals and newspapers. He was a prolific speaker, all of which helped really to work towards the unification of the Ukrainian diaspora in a very critical time, which is why this book is so important for right now. To learn more about my grandfather, his story, and our foundation, please visit our website, vovkfoundation.org.
Thank you very much, Yuri. This was wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Much easier to communicate this in video and picture than it is in presenting a PowerPoint. But I can, in the interest of time, I know we've got about 10 minutes left. I will summarize.
It was not quite clear to me, when did your family come to the US from the video? You yourself were born in the United States, I assume.
I am born in the United States, correct. Yep, my family immigrated in the early 50s. Early 1950s.
We have interviewed a number of people with this similar fate on our program, and my co-host, who is not with us now, is Katerina Rudnitsky-Shrey, daughter of Leonid Rudnitsky, one of the important Pennsylvania figures who passed away last winter.
Right.
Anara, please, or anyone else, viewers, ask your questions.
I thank you. I just would like to ask, first of all, great video. It's amazing. It's inspiration, actually. And I think that it should be even shown at school level, you know. People should know more about these heroes. My question is, because you are doing great job creating this foundation and video also, and visuals are beautiful. What are your plans in the future? How you see your foundation in the future, and what is the most and what challenges you also see? That's both. What is your actually plan, and what challenges might be on your way? Thank you.
Absolutely. So plans. I'll speak maybe a little on the tactical level. So with regards to this book, our plan is to release a second edition. It's very interesting. This book, we set out to work with Phronesis, which is the research and publishing company in Kyiv. You know, there was a war going on. So as the team kept identifying new findings and new insights, they couldn't leave to visit archives or, you know, research centers or what have you. So it brought me into, you know, a very, very hands-on level of involvement in this book. So it took a form much bigger than I ever anticipated. So personally, it was you know, a great experience for me. But it led to my kind of being knee-deep in archives and historic documents and et cetera. And I'm a technologist, I'm not a historian, so it was a great learning. But from that came a lot of new information and a lot of hypotheses around the liberation movement in that period of time that need to be researched. So that will happen, and a second edition will come out, or an addendum to the first edition. And then we will continue our work in education, supporting you know, all levels, primary, you know, through graduate school. We will continue to get more involved on innovation and with innovators and entrepreneurs, and then, you know, as we all hope, sometime, hopefully soon, support and begin to help create the vision and the implementation plan for rebuild. So our verticals will effectively remain the same. What our challenges are, obviously, all of this requires a significant investment. So it goes without saying that there'll always be a financial challenge. However, you know, I think bigger than that is the challenge before us is to make sure that we can correct the narrative through proper advocacy that makes a difference, that continues to keep people engaged and brings people that are unaware or non-believers onto our side. And I think that, you know, without getting too political, and when people ask me what needs to take place, and my answer is, regardless of where you fall on the advocacy spectrum, is you need to challenge yourself to understand history and understand the facts. And so so much of the propaganda and disinformation, as we all know, is based on just ridiculous, I'll go as far as to say stupid, lies and misinterpretations about history. And that's the history of the origins of Ukraine and the timing of the creation of Ukraine from a city-state to a nation. It has to do with, the following, plus or minus thousands of years, and then, the most recent history, right? And it's our struggle for liberation and independence in the 20th century, and it's our struggle for the last 11 years of this war. So somehow we collectively, I think, have to tie together the truth historically because it's objective, and position it in a way that people understand it and do the work on them for themselves to understand it and to consider it and realize what the truth is, and realize what the Russian, the Soviet, the Bolshevik, whatever you want to call it, propaganda machines, all three are trying to do in terms of eliminate the existence of Ukraine from the face of the earth.
Thank you so much for your answer.
Thank you very much, Yuri. It was very well put. And if we have no more questions or comments, we'll close our interview. And this was once again Marshall University MUkraine discussion group, week number 175. And we heard from Yurij Wowczuk of Vovk Foundation, Morgantown, West Virginia. Everyone is welcome to look up the website and to share our recording, which will be on YouTube soon, as usual. Thank you all very much. Thanks, first of all, to Yuri. And happy Independence Day to the United States, and happy independence struggle for Ukraine. Slava Ukraine.
Thank you.